Hi friends, welcome to my Stampin' Piece studio. I'm Mary Knabe in Westerville, Ohio, and I first of all want to say I'm wearing my Remember Your Why sweatshirt, and I have many reasons why I do what I do. I have many reasons why I built a hobby and something I loved into a business, but I want to give you a reminder that you, if you are watching this video, you are a part of my why. I truly appreciate the opportunity to share my love of stamps, ink, and paper with you through creative demonstrations. So I'm happy you're here and I'm happy you're watching. In this video, I'm going to show you some how to make a set of 3 quick and easy holiday cards that I think you're going to love and probably want to make some yourself real soon. So I'm going to get started right now. The first thing I want to do is show you the products that I'm using today. I'm using 3 of the letters to spell joy. These are from the Party Alphabet dies, which I've used quite a bit, actually. They've become one of my favorite set of dies. And I'm also using the Jolly Holly bundle, which consists of this wonderful stamp set. I love that you can mix and match the words and greetings. It has a great die set. There are some dies that cut out these 3 images, but then there are some additional dies, these rectangles. And a die to cut out this, a die to cut out the word joy. You can stamp and die cut or just die cut it. Either way, it's going to be great. But it also comes with this large one-piece die that works with this Jolly Holly hybrid embossing folder. You can use this embossing folder separate for a nice background, embossed background, or you can add this die to it. And I have to see which way it goes. What you're going to do is just look for the Stampin' Up! Logo, and on the inside of that side of the embossing folder, you're going to match up the flat side of the die to it. And once it's in place, it'll pretty much hold. It won't move around unless you really tip it or knock it out. But it's real easy to place it, and once it stops moving on you, you know you've got it in place. And I'm going to show you a trick with this on my 3rd card that I make for you today. So right now, I have one more thing to show you, and that is this piece of Season of Elegance Designer Series Paper. This is a DSP that was around in 2024, and Stampin' Up! Carried it over, so it is in our annual catalog. It consists of, it's a specialty designer series paper, which means it has some metallic gold on the front of the sheets. It comes in basic beige, cherry cobbler, old olive mossy meadow, and pretty peacock. And when I first saw them, I wasn't sure I was going to love them. But once I started working with them, I truly do love the Season of Elegance DSP. So I was happy to see it carry over to 2025. So the first thing I'm going to do is cut this at 5 1/4 inches. And I'm using this piece that it's kind of heavy on the gold metallic in the center, across the center of it. And I'm going to cut this at 5 1/4 inches. And then I'm going to turn this piece to the horizontal position and cut it 4 inches and 4 inches again, leaving me with 3 5 1/4 by 4 inch pieces that I'll be using for my 3 cards. So my first card, I'm actually going to be using 2 of the pieces, okay? these two pieces of DSP. And, well, you'll see what I'm going to do. I'm going to start with this one that's heavy on that gold metallic, and I'm just going to lay out the letters for the word joy. Okay, and I'm going to get them as straight as possible. In fact, I think I'm even going to pull in my little ruler here and just kind of make sure I've got them pretty even on a straight line. Do this again just to double check. I'm really not measuring where they are on the DSP. I just know I want them in the middle, and I'm kind of eyeballing it, but I want to make sure they're fairly straight across. And once I've done that, then I'm going to use my Post-it tape to hold the three letters in place so they're not moving when I die cut them from this piece of Season of Elegance Designer Series paper. Just kind of eyeballing it, centering them top to bottom, and then trying to get even spacing between the letters. I think this should scoot over just a bit, like that. And really, you know, take your time. It doesn't take a lot of extra time to line up your letters and make sure that they're evenly spaced, that kind of thing. But it does make a world of difference in the overall appearance. And once I've had that done, I'm just going to do the die cutting. And there goes my camera floating around. And the letters I'm actually going to be setting aside because those will be used for the, the letters will actually be used for my second card. And it's the, put those there, don't want to lose my dies, so I'll keep them on that little magnetic strip. And I'm going to actually use the negative space for my first card. One thing I want to tell you here, when you are using a negative space and it has a centerpiece or something, some kind of little piece that finishes off that letter, keep this piece. Do not throw it away. You want to use it with your negative space. Whereas when you're using the actual letters, you would get rid of that center piece of the word joy. And what I'm going to do is lay this on top, but I want to pop it up. So I'll use my dimensionals for that. And I'm going to use more dimensionals than I normally would on a piece of cardstock or paper this size. The reason being is I don't want the area where the letters have been cut out to be sinking against the background. And where are my little snips? Here they are. And I'm even going to cut some little pieces of dimensionals to put on the skinny areas alongside and around the letters. I'd say that looks pretty good to me, I think. Why not a few more, just to be safe, right? This is, you know, like I said, this is many more dimensionals than I typically use on a piece of paper this size, but I just want to make sure that all of the DSP is elevated, including near and between the letters. And cutting your dimensionals into smaller pieces or in half definitely makes them go further. And then on a second piece of the DSP, I'm flipping it over and using just this watercolor wash side, not the side with the metallic gold. And I think I can line these two up pretty good. They are the same size, but having the dimensionals in between can make it a little tricky lining up all those edges. Here's a tip though. If you're a little bit nervous about getting all four of those edges lined up when you've got so many dimensionals and you've got this top piece that you want elevated, go ahead and before you adhere the negative word layer to the plain layer, go ahead and trim that bottom layer just the slightest little bit, and that will make it easier for you. I also need to make sure that I'm adding that center piece of the O. And I do want to pop this up on dimensionals as well, just like the rest of that layer. And I think I've got that centered. I don't have to worry about doing it perfectly. That is centered. And then I'm ready to add it to my card base. And I've chosen to use, can get it out of here. I've chosen to use Very Vanilla. I just think I probably use Very Vanilla more for fall cards and holiday cards than I do use Very Vanilla any other time of year for any other occasion for cards. I just think it's a really, really elegant, sophisticated color to add to reds and greens and golds for the holiday season, or even the fall colors. So then I'm going to adhere these layers to the center of my card front. That card front is 5.5 by 8. Come on, camera, what you doing to me? 5.5 by 8.5 inches, and I've scored at 4 1/4 on the long side and folded in half for my finished A2 card. Then I went ahead and stamped, colored, and die cut these little holly leaves. Okay, the stamp and the die are part of the Jolly Holly bundle, so easy peasy. I stamped in Mossy Meadow, and then I die cut them. No, I stamped in Mossy Meadow and then colored them with Stampin' blends in Mossy Meadow and light and dark shades, and then real red for, make sure I'm telling you the right color red here. Nope, Cherry Cobbler. Light and dark shades of Cherry Cobbler. So Stampin' Blends, Mossy Meadow, and Cherry Cobbler, both light and dark shades. And then I'm going to take these three and I'm just going to kind of move them around and think about where I want to place these. So take your time, just make a decision about where you want these to go. I kind of like that because then I've got them, you know, higher, lower, across the middle, and then one near each of the letters. So then I'll use my multi-purpose glue, and I only need a bit. And I'm choosing to use this so that I can slide these pieces, turn them if I want to. And you really want to keep that adhesive on the layer, not on the holly itself. I don't know what I was thinking when I added the adhesive there. Maybe I already knew where I needed the adhesive because I made a sample. But if I were doing it the first time, I would lay them out and then I would put my glue on that DSP layer and then add the holly and berries to it. So there is my first finished card. Simple, easy, elegant, and just a few supplies. I also stamped and colored the envelope. I am going to give you a suggestion, a tip. When you are coloring on an envelope, if you are using Stampin' Blends markers, those markers can bleed through. So for example, that's not, let me find, here's a piece of, I think this is basic beige, but I can color with Stampin' Blends, and now it's not doing this on this piece, wouldn't you know it? Oh, it's like the high school science experiments. It works until you have to show the teacher and then you can't get it working. But if I were coloring on a light cardstock or any cardstock, it might kind of show through, bleed through a little bit. So when I am stamping an envelope, I will just, and I'm just using this for reference, this isn't really the kind of scrap I would use, but I would just tuck a scrap of cardstock inside the envelope so that when I'm coloring on it, the color does not go through to the back of the envelope, okay? So just a little tip to make your finished envelopes look really professional and pretty, okay? So there's card one. Now for my second card, I'm going to actually use the 3 letters I die cut from that first piece of Season of Elegance Designer Series paper. Once again, I have a card base of vanilla, very vanilla, which measures 5.5 by 8.5 inches, and I scored at 4 1/4 on the long side and folded in half. Then I have a layer of very vanilla, which measures 5 1/4 by 4 inches. Okay, 5 1/4 by 4 inches. I'm actually going to add my letters for the word joy to this layer just like that. Now I have mine towards the bottom. You can have yours towards the top if you like. You can have it right across the middle. You do you. You do what looks and feels good to you. There is not a right or wrong answer as far as placement. And if you're making several of these, maybe you'll make some at the top, some at the bottom, and some right in the middle. So that is where I want my letters. I do want to pop these up with dimensionals. The dimensionals actually fit quite well on the party alphabet letters. If you're using letters, die cut letters that are smaller or narrower, you might need to cut your dimensionals. And once I've done that, again, I'm just going to lay these where I think I want them to go. I'll raise them up just a wee bit there. And then I'm going to start adhering them. And I am going to adhere them the left letter, so the J, the right letter, and then the center letter. Here's my J. The reason I'm doing it this way, oh, come on, camera. I honestly don't even know what to think about this anymore. I've consulted so many people. We've tried so many settings. I'm not changing my settings from one to the next. And everybody's telling me I've got the right settings, but something is overriding one of the settings. And that's what the part we can't figure out. I guess it's kind of tricky when you've got, there it goes again. It's tricky when you're using two cameras plus the eCam, and they all want to be in charge, is what I feel like. Each of the devices plus the program, they all want to be in charge. They're not working together. I need them to work together, and I need to be in charge, right? They need to know what I want. Anyways, the saga continues. And thanks to you, those of you who have reached out with suggestions, and trust me, I've tried it all, and I appreciate your help, and I'm just, every time I get on, I cross my fingers because I don't know what's going to happen. Okay, so this is what I have now, Joy. Okay, I'm going to add this to the front of my Very Vanilla card base. So I've got Very Vanilla on Very Vanilla. And then for this card also, I have, it's kind of stuck in here. What happened? Here it is. I've got a single set of holly and berries. And that's all I'm going to add is that one instead of doing 3. Again, it is your choice. If you want more, put more on by all means. But for me, I was just keeping this card even more simple than the first one. So there's my second card with my stamped envelope. Now let's make one more. Now, for this last card, and I'm going to show you a couple of things here. For this last card, I am using that last piece of DSP that I cut from that 5.5 by 12 inch strip, and then, or 5.25 by 12 inches. And then I cut the 5.25 at 4 inches. Okay, 4-inch increments. So this is the last piece of that. So essentially, making these cards as I'm showing them, you can get 6 cards from one sheet of DSP, plus you'll have a 1-inch strip left over. So I'm going to go ahead and adhere this layer of Season of Elegance Designer Series paper to my card front. And I've decided that I want that gold, heavier gold, towards the bottom and just the sprinkle of gold at the top. Then I've got a strip of cardstock that measures 4¼ by 1 inch, and I've banner cut one end of it. So now I want to stamp Merry Christmas. This is 2 separate stamps from the Jolly Holly stamp set, and I lined them up on my grid paper and then picked them with my clear block. Okay, I use that, I said paper, my glass mat, which has the grid on. So I laid out my stamps, made sure they were straight, and then pressed my clear block on top and picked them up. To me, it's easier to do that than to try and stamp each separately and have them straight. Use your graph paper, use a ruler, use your grid on your glass mat, whatever you have to line those 2 words up so that they are straight. And then I'm just stamping in Cherry Cobbler. Easy peasy, right? Okay. I want to add this to my card right here, but I'm not going to add it just yet. I'm just going to place it where I think it should go, which is right about there where I want it. But I want to add another decorative element, and I want to show you how I created this element. And I'm going to actually show you the sample card. This is the holly element I want to add. It is not a stamp, okay? It's not a stamp in this set. The way I made this was using that largest die and the coordinating hybrid embossing folder. So I'm going to put that in, and I've already decided that this is the set of 3 holly leaves and berries that I want to use. I could have used any of these. One thing that's kind of unique about this is when you die cut this, if you put in a whole sheet, it's not going to cut all of, you know what, let me just show you. I want you to understand how this works. You know what, we might as well use a piece of Mossy Meadow. But I want you to understand how it works. So I've got my folder, which I can just, if I wanted a nice embossed holly background, I could just use that hybrid embossing folder alone. Or I can add the die, and this piece is not quite wide enough if I were going to use the whole thing, but for demonstration purposes, it's going to be just fine. So then I want to run this through my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. Remember, when you're using embossing folders, you always want the folded end to go through first. Okay, the folded end of your embossing folder. Whoops, that's not the right layers because I wasn't planning to show you it this way. When you're using a hybrid embossing folder, you're going to use the base plate, which is marked number 1, and you're going to use the number 4 gray plate. And then I'm ready to roll this through my machine. I love that you get a choice with hybrid embossing folders. You can use just the folder, or you can use it with a die, which is what I'm doing in this case. So what is unique here is that it cuts around these holly leaves, but it doesn't cut them out completely. So if I were to put this on a card as a background, I could adhere it and then just lift up these leaves a little bit to give it some dimension. Do you see how that works? Okay, it's not cutting these out all the way. It's just cutting them out that you can lift them up a bit and it gives more dimension to your cards. Now, this is, was it this one or this one? This is the one, either one, it doesn't really matter. What I want to do is cut out a set of holly leaves. I am just having a time today. Where are my snips? Here they are. See, they're hiding from me. So I'm going to go ahead and use this one. Now, for my sample card, or if I didn't want to take the time to show you how it works on an entire background, I just would have put a small piece of cardstock in the folder. So in other words, if this was what I wanted to die cut, these 3 holly leaves with the berries, I would have just taken a small piece of cardstock and die cut that. Okay, because I'm not using all this, so why waste that, right? But I wanted you to see how it works as a background, or if you want to use part of it. So this is what I have. Here are the leaves. So I'm just going to make a couple of little snips between the leaves. Just like that. And I've got one more place where it's still attached to the background. So now I've got my 3 holly leaves. So this is when I can decide, okay, now how high or low do I want my sentiment so that I can use it with these holly leaves. And I think, oh, camera. Oh, my friends, I'm so sorry, but I'm doing the best I can. So thank you for your patience and understanding. So I think this looks good. What I'm going to do is actually adhere this first with 1 dimensional right in the center. And I'm doing just 1 in the center because I want these leaves to be able to lift up, pulled up, and not adhered completely. I'm going to come down just a little bit here, like that. And once I have that in place, honestly now, this has been happening way too much, and it's very frustrating. Goodness. So now I'm ready to adhere my sentiment. I'm putting that. Is it that I'm getting my head in the way? Maybe that's the problem. I do apologize. I do apologize. So here, now I'm ready to add my sentiment. And I want my sentiment going straight across. You might want to give it a little flair and set it at an angle. I'm going to go just like that. And then I've got these, I think they're called Cherry Cobbler and Pearl Adhesive Back Berries. These are retired, but I love them, so I still use them. If you do not have these, I'm going to show you what you can use for a cluster of berries on your cards. You can take some of our, I don't know if I would use the large, oh yeah, I think I would. Some of our iridescent pearls, or you might choose to use our basic rhinestones. And then I would color these with a cherry cobbler Stampin' blends to make my berries. So, and if you color your embellishments a lot, you will eventually get a funky tip. I like to, for something like this, I have another set of cherry cobbler Stampin' blends because obviously that paintbrush tip is no longer good for coloring. But I would just use the side of my Stampin' blend to add some color to those. I can do the same thing with the, ooh, these are beautiful, with the basic rhinestones. When you color your embellishments, I would give them a little bit of time to dry before adhering them to your card or project. I also always suggest that you color them on the sheet that they come on. Do not put them on your card or project and then try to color them. That's kind of tricky because you can end up getting the Stampin' Blends ink on your various card pieces. So color them right on the adhesive or the acetate sheet they come on, and then give them a few minutes to dry, and then pick them up with take your pick tool and place them on your card or project. Another thing to keep in mind is the ink that's on the acetate sheet. Can you see that? How I've got ink between the rhinestones on the acetate sheet? That will stay wet on that acetate. So you don't want to pick them up with your fingers and place them. You just want to be aware of that and be careful. However you're picking them up with your take your pick tool or whatever you're using to do that. Alrighty. So now we have, I'm looking at this and I feel like it's just not quite straight. Okay, that's a little better. So now I've got, it's my head, isn't it? Is that what's happening? I'm just getting a little too close. If you're watching and you're thinking, Mary, that's the problem, tell me in the comments. Tell me nicely. I'm always willing to take helpful criticism, but keep it kind, right? So let me pull all 3 cards back in. This was fun, other than the camera glitch, which I'm realizing it's closer to me than I realized, the camera above. So maybe I'm part of the problem today. So here are my 3 cards. Okay. I took one sheet or one piece of 5 1/4 by 4 inch DSP, Season of Elegance DSP, and die cut the letters for the word joy. I used the letters for one card. I used the negative space plus another sheet of or piece of DSP, layer of DSP behind it. But I did flip over that DSP because I wanted the matte finish. I didn't want another gold finish to be competing with the top layer. So there's my first card with the negative space used. The second card with using the letters. And then the third piece of DSP cut from that 5 1/4 by 12 inch strip for another simple but elegant card. And this time the holly was cut from our hybrid embossing folder. And I love the way that turned out. So what do you think of the cards? Simple, easy, elegant, right? And it didn't take me very long at all to make 3 beautiful cards. So it's a great set. Also, you could give something like this as a hostess gift. If you are going to Thanksgiving dinner at somebody's home, you know between now and the end of the year, everybody is busy, 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 and always looking for ways to maybe save time. And what a big help this would be to give your Thanksgiving hostess a little bunch of cards, a small set of 3 cards or 6 cards to help him or her get going on their holiday cards after they've prepared a wonderful Thanksgiving meal for you. Okay? If you're going to a cookie exchange, what a nice thing to do for the hostess, or maybe to give each person a handmade holiday card while you're there enjoying cookies and sharing your baked goods. I hope you've enjoyed this demonstration. Again, I apologize for the camera problem. Today I do feel like it was me, because I feel like I was leaning over a little too much, and that may have caused some of the movement of that top view camera. But thank you for hanging with me. I appreciate you. I appreciate your patience and your understanding. Tech is not my forte. Creating and sharing is my expertise. So thank you for letting me do that. And I look forward to seeing what kinds of cards you make with the supplies you have at home. Remember, any of these, you can use any of your own papers to make these cards. You don't have to use the same papers that I do. Okay? And if you are interested in the Season of Elegance Designer Series paper, it is available. It's in our annual catalog, and you can find it online as well. It's called Season of Elegance. And once again, the bundle is called Jolly Holly. So it's got the stamp set, the dies, and the hybrid embossing folder. Wonderful, wonderful bundle. I see myself and others using this for many years. It's classic, it's fun, great fonts, and I just love the simple images. All right, everybody, thanks so much. If you like this demonstration of cards, please like and share this YouTube video. Be sure to subscribe to Stampin' Peace with Mary Knabe. You might also want to subscribe to my blog, stampinpeace.com. My blog is where you will find photos, still photos, cutting dimensions, and Stampin' Up! Products used for the cards in this video. Take care, everybody, and I hope you have a joy-filled evening.